How's everyone doing? So just want to do a video on the last day of the Mississippi trip. So today was another 100-mile day for me, but we rode out to this area and did 5 8-mile loops. So this was like the first, maybe second lap. I didn't really film a full lap, so I'm gonna stitch together some of the pieces, but pretty much you'll see the whole lap footage. So this is towards the beginning. We're just going through this kind of nature-ish area. Roads weren't too bad here, but could have been better. And the weather too was really nice today. It was like 65 or so, which doesn't seem too great, but compared to the previous days of like 50s, 45 in some days, it was feeling really good. So we're all in like shorts, short sleeves, jerseys, and so we have 10 people with us all together. So right now I'm just on the front doing my pole, and throughout this whole day, I already have like 430 miles in my legs or something. So it's the last day. I'm not feeling like, I feel fine, but I just don't have that pop or that sprint, you know? And whereas some of the other guys, like you'll see the guy in the blue helmet, he has like a really good pop today, and he pretty much he did win every single race, and I think that was just because he was sitting in a lot, and he definitely didn't do as many miles as I did. He probably did the minimum amount. Yeah, he probably has one of the lowest amount of miles in his legs, so he definitely had a little bit extra energy, a little extra pop, and the extra miles definitely slow you down a little bit, at least from having a pop, a sprint in your legs. So as you see, I did my pole and then just floating back to the back of the group, and I know some of the guys in front of me aren't super strong, so I don't really want to slot in here. I'm still going to try to move up just to stay towards the front, because if someone does go on an attack, I want to be towards the front of the group just so I can be on that. And I know some of the guys in between the middle here aren't super strong, so they're probably just going to be holding on. They're not going to be chasing down any attacks. And I know this guy that's just pulled off now is a pretty strong guy that may have gone off the front, so that's why I just want to stay up there. So now I'm just going to sit on his wheel, and then my teammate, or not in this race, but teammate in real life, just goes on attack. So now I'm just going to try to sit on other people's wheels to try to pull me up to them, because you don't want to use too much energy chasing down an attack that's already well up the road. If you're gonna go with them, then you should just go right away. And see, right now no one's going, so I'm pretty much forced to chase it down. And I know these two guys right here are pretty strong, so I'm not gonna do anything too crazy. But so we just take this turn now. So this course was 8 miles, as I said, and the reason I went on the left side there is just because I was looking ahead, didn't see any cars, so wasn't too worried about it. So now this guy's going, so I'm just going to be jumping on his wheel right away. That's what you want to do when someone attacks. You don't want to just wait a second, decide if you want to go or not. If someone attacks and you have the opportunity to go with them, just freaking go right away. Don't be waiting so they get a little bit of gap, because then you have to use more energy. If you're gonna go. Otherwise, sit up and let someone else do the work and you sit on their wheel, you know? So this guy in front of me has been looking pretty strong today, so I'm just making sure I go with him and do everything I can just to stay with him. Not going to let him get off the front, get too much room, because it may be hard to pull back with how he's looking. So yeah, back to how the course is. So we got 8 miles. So that was the second turn of the race. And then we got 2, 3, 4. We have 4 turns total. So it's a right, a left, and another right, and then pretty much straight the rest of the way. And then it was actually a 10-mile loop, but we only raced for 8 of it because the other 2 miles were on highway. So that was just kind of like a chill recovery period, get everyone back on that got dropped, and then from there we'll start the next race. I actually really like this workout. I like race simulation. I mean, you have people attacking, so you're never really sitting there knowing when, okay, at minute 5 I have an interval for 3 minutes. No, like sometimes you may do an attack and then you're hurting and someone else attacks and you have to dig deep right there. So that's why I like those kind of workouts, and that's definitely how you get fit, is just by following other people's attacks, going hard when you're hurting is definitely a way to get a lot stronger on the bike and just push you mentally a little bit further. So now this guy, he was wanting me to pull through and he wasn't doing very many pulls, so I'm just like, I'm just gonna sit on your wheel, bud. And then he did a little fake attack to see if I have anything left in my legs. And now this guy goes. So he follows, and right now it's pretty much every man for themselves. So in a normal race, if these 2 guys were on my team, I would just sit up. And that's kind of what we did for the last race. We created teams, which you're going to see some footage of that a little bit later. We created teams, so if your teammate goes off the front, you don't want to pull. You don't want to try to bring them back. You want to just sit in behind some other team and have them do all the work. And then if they can't do the work, your team wins, you know? Your teammate wins, so your team wins, so you win. You don't want to pull your teammates back. I know you specifically may want to win the race, but if your team wins, that's as good as anybody winning, even yourself. You just have to look at it that way. So right now we are every man for themselves pretty much. So I went off the front just to try to bring them back, because I knew those 2 guys together were really strong, and if we didn't bring them back right now, they're not coming back. So that was turn 3 that we just went through. They attacked on turn 2, and we have pretty much the whole group with us still. And look at the pedaling style of the guy in front of me. He's got that high cadence, and his body is, for the most part, pretty stiff. He's got a little bit of bouncing, which he can work on, especially in the upper body. But for the most part, he's just really smooth cadence, pedaling. You got the downstroke, and then he's pulling up on the upstroke, which gives you the most power. And now he's just gonna sit up, and I'm gonna pull through. So this is the back stretch of the lap of the race. So the sprint's coming up soon. This is like maybe the first or second lap, so I'm still kind of learning the course. Don't really know too much. And now I pull off just to let the other guy through, have him do some work. So the trick with racing is just save as much energy as you can. And look at this girl in the red. She was hauling that day. She was sticking with all these dudes, and just kicking ass. Go, good for her, good for her. That's incredible when girls can keep up with dudes and just she's almost making us look bad, to be honest, because she's just chilling, sitting in, which is fine. She got a hella good workout that day, so good for her. But yeah, the trick with racing is just try to conserve as much energy as you can. So what I mean by that is just sit in. And as you can see by the guy who ends up winning every single race, he did almost no work. So he had the most energy for that sprint. And also, here we go, we got an attack. Someone going off the front. And you see, I don't jump around this guy to make sure no one's there. I just sit on him. I know he's a strong guy. He's gonna pull it back if there's someone off the front. So just sit on, conserve your energy, let other people do the work, and by the end you're going to have a lot of energy. And if you're the sprinter, you should almost never be on the front. You should almost never be on the front if you're a sprinter. You have to save as much energy as you can and let it all out for that last sprint. That's how you're gonna be winning races. Is just conserve and then release it in one freaking 1400 watt output. And actually on one of these I had one of my highest watts ever, wattage output. It was like 1200 or something, and after 450 miles, that's pretty good for me. And it was just because I'm trying to beat that one guy. I was pushing so hard just to try to beat him. And what I noticed in that time period, or that wattage output, is I was spinning fast. I was spinning at like 120 cadence. That's how you get the power, is just by spinning as fast as you can. And yes, you need to be in a somewhat of a big gear, but cadence and torque equal power. So if you can have a higher cadence and still get that decent amount of torque down, then you're gonna have a big power output. But really, just you need to be spinning around 120. So the biggest gear you can spin at 120, that's what you should be using. My camera's about to die, so I'm gonna pause this really quick and get a new battery. Alright, I'm back. Got the new battery, so now we're good till the end. So now this kid in front of me, I was trying to have him do a little bit of extra work, so I was gonna let him go off the front and see what he has. So I'm like, go Jake, go, and made him do an attack. And he thought I was trying to come with him, but so he sat up for some reason. I'm like, just go, just freaking go, because he had the gap, and I was sitting up waiting for him to, you know, get that gap, and I was just gonna chill, let someone else do some work, see if he could get a sneaky win. But he was just didn't have enough carbs. So that's why I titled this race Carbohydrate Awareness, because this guy had probably one of the least amount of miles in his legs for the week, and he should be able to do that attack. He should be able to put that power down and just be able to hold it for a little bit. And I think he did a little bit too much on the initial attack, which kind of burnt him out a little bit. So you want to be able to attack, but you want to be able to sustain an effort after that. So maybe put out, I mean, it depends on type of person, but for me, I'd probably put out like 700 watts for 10 seconds, and then just try to sit on 400 for another minute, and then after that drop it down to 300 or so for another 10 minutes. And then hopefully I have a big enough gap and I can drop it back down to like 250 or something. It really depends, and it depends how you feel, obviously. So, see, this, here's a good learning point. You don't want that gap in between. So you see how there was a guy off the front, and then the guy in front of me left like 2 bike lengths worth of space. So when that happens, you're not getting that draft, you're not conserving that energy, you have to put out a little bit more power, and that's going to hurt you in the long run. You have to use a little bit more carbs, which you could have saved, a little more glycogen, a little more sugars. You could have saved that for the final sprint or for an attack later on. So you want, if you're drafting, you want to stay glued to that wheel. If some guy, he accelerates a little bit, you just got to go with him. You got to follow that, and that's gonna really help you in the long run. Is just by staying with that dude, getting that full draft. Let's see, what else can we talk about in this video? So this race, unlike most races, actual races, is definitely not as aggressive. So we have another attack here. Jake's going off the front on a little hill, but as you see, he just doesn't have the carbs in his body, and I left that gap open, so that was a mistake for me. And you see how I had that little bit of extra momentum going forward. So instead of just putting on the brakes, I slotted into the guy to the left of me. So I just use that momentum and then can chill a little bit until he comes back in front, and then I just pop back on his wheel. So that you always want to be using your full momentum. Try to never use your brakes. If you use your brakes, that means you wasted energy almost, because you put out that energy and then you had to slow down. Obviously, when you're going into turns or something in a crit, you're going to have to use your brakes. That's just how it is. And now I put it on attack, and I know people are coming with me because I'm one of the strongest guys here, even after 450 miles. But I put it on attack. I think I got a little bit of a gap, but everyone was on that. They were on that shit right away because it's right towards the end of the race, and you know, you can't let people go towards the end of the race. Even in pro races, you see that they wait till the last possible minute to pull people back, because if you're pulling them back right away, that opens an opportunity for someone else to go off the front with less time, so they have to do less work. You know, they want to wait as long as they can. Just go slightly faster and pace it until you're catching them at the last kilometer. If they can do that, that's like almost perfect, because then you just open it up right for your sprinters to get their pace line going. No one's going to go off the front and attack at that point, because they just had to put out a massive attack. They had to put out 1,000 something watts to get off and get any gap at all. So now we're coming up on the final sprint, and you see this is not as aggressive as a normal race would be. Obviously, we don't have as many people, but no one's really bumping or pushing people out of the way. So right now I'm trying to, this is the bad spot for me because I have no draft at this point. I'm trying to push the guy off to me, trying to be a little aggressive. But look at what he does. He goes in the freaking grass to get around, and it was actually a good move. I mean, it's not technically illegal, but this guy was on it right away, right in front of me, and I'm just being glued to his wheel. I know he's the best sprinter right now, so as soon as he goes, I'm trying to go with him. And oh, look at that, just like 1,200 watts right there, just blew me away. And I'm trying to catch them, end up getting a little bit close. Obviously, this guy in front sat up a little bit because he knew he wasn't going to beat him, but I mean, you just got to, I was in the perfect spot. I was right on his wheel. As soon as he went, I would just have to sit on him and then do a little pop around him, but he was just too good that day. Could not beat him. So that was the end of the race. We're sprinting to that yellow sign, and then we went on the highway back to the school area where we started. So right now we're just like discussing what we're gonna do for our team effort. So this is my team. So we're discussing, like, we're gonna have some people go off the front, put a little bit of pressure on the other team to have to pull it back, and basically use our guys as bait almost. So send them off the front, have the other team use all their effort to pull them back, and then send another guy and then have them pull it back. So they're using all their energy, which they could be putting into a sprint and just having to pull us back, obviously. And then we're saving our best guy, which was the guy who just won the last race, as the sprinter. So he's gonna have to do almost no work. He just has to sit in, let them pull everything back, and then at that point they're gonna be fried. And then hopefully if they don't pull it back, we just sit in and one of our guys wins. So either way, our team wins. And it was kind of the best of both worlds, you know? So, and that's what you just have to think about. If you have a team effort, you need to think, okay, what's our strengths, what's our weaknesses, and from there we're going to put pressure on the other team. So we knew we had the best sprinter, but if one of their guys went off the front at that point, we knew we had to pull it back, and we may not have had the horsepower to pull that back if they did consistent attacks. So if they had the same plan as we did, we would really have to do a lot of work and possibly have to have our sprinter work a little bit, and that would harm us. So we wanted to be attacking right away and just getting it done, and it worked out for us. We ended up winning the sprint, and I came in second too, so we went 1-2 because we had two guys in the last stretch go off the front and put in a big attack, which ended up hurting them in the long run, or in the sprint I should say. So that's it for the last day. That's it for the Mississippi trip. So the next day we just drove back to Bloomington, Indiana, but I didn't do any videos that day. So this is really the last day of the trip. I hope you guys enjoyed the videos. If you have any questions or tips for training or need any advice, send it in the comments, message me, etc., etc. I have all the social media in the description box down below. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the Mississippi trip, and that was it for Gulfport. I'll see you in the next trip, hopefully soon.